I'm going to show you how to do a Dyneema eye splice with a Brummel lock. To get started with my eye splice, I need my rope, an appropriate size fid, tape measure, marker. I'll need something later to cut the rope, and then depending on how frayed your edges are, you might want some electrical tape as well. The first step to my eye splice is figuring out how long the tail has to be. Now, when you're doing a Dyneema eye splice, best practice for the tail is that the length of the tail that you bury should be 72 times the diameter of the rope. In this case, the line is 5 millimeters, and I'm going to multiply that by 72. So that is the length of my tail, which is equivalent 36 centimeters. Now, if you're working in inches, you can just convert that number. So to make my life easier, I'm going to mark that out. From there, I'll also put a mark to show how big I want the eye to be. My first step when doing an eye splice is to do a Brummel lock. So what a Brummel lock does is locks the splice together so that it can't come undone. So it goes through itself and then through itself again. Now, there is a slightly different way of doing this if you have a longer rope, which I will put a link to how to do that. If you have a shorter rope though, you simply get the end, feed it through at the mark that you made earlier for the eyes. When the two marks line up, stop. Go just on the other side. Feed that through. So you can see we have this kind of shape going on. And just feed it through to lock it in place. And you can see now I can't change the size of the loop because it's locked in. Now that that's done, I can get on with burying the tail. So to bury the tail, again, I need to split the rope and using my fid, feed it in through the center. Now this fid's not very long, so I'm probably going to have to do this twice. So you can see I'm feeding it on, splitting it and feeding it on. Put this end into here so then I can feed it onto the rope. Come out because I've run out of room. You can see I've got that. So I'm just going to pull this through. Now, as you can see, I haven't got all of my tail buried. So where I came out, I'm going to go back in, feed it through. So if I was to pull this all the way through, I would lose the end of that tail and it would be buried. The only thing is it would go from skinny to quite fat here. And that's not best practice if you want maximum strength. What you need to do is give this a nice taper. Now, the precision of your taper, if you're doing something that's critical like rigging, it does need to be more precise. When you're doing your taper, what you're going to be doing is cutting off strands at intervals, so that at the top you have the full piece of rope and by the bottom you've tapered down to just a single thread. To calculate the intervals, which is quite important if you are going to be putting high stress, high loads on these ropes, is to count the number of strands in a row and then divide that by the number of strands in the actual rope. So in this instance for mine, there are 33 of these strands in one row and I have 12 strands in the rope. So I'm looking at cutting one off every 3. Okay, so now that I have an even taper all the way around, I can pull this over And that is my completed eye splice.